Hello and welcome into BTN's Take 10 podcast. This is Alex Roux, BTN. We're back post Big Ten championship game here on the Take 10 podcast, where, as a lot of us expected headed in, we crowned Ohio State as Big Ten champions, sent them to the college football playoff as the number 2 seed. They'll be playing out in the Phoenix area around New Year's, December 28th. And we've got Big Ten basketball pretty much a week into conference play, nearly wrapping up their 2-game December stint that they've done the last few years. So a lot has been happening, and we've talked quite a bit about it and everything going on currently during our last several episodes. And this one's more of kind of a standalone episode. We do not have a check-in with our researcher, Harold Shelton, like we usually do. Did not rely on his services this week. He'll be back soon. But this episode, like I said, is more standalone, and it's a interview with a very big personality in Big Ten history, especially in Big Ten network history. It's Nebraska's Kenny Bell. Kenny Bell, if the name rings a bell, but maybe you can't place his face, was a Nebraska wide receiver from 2011 to 2014. He had the big afro, big hair, big smile, the big hit in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, where he kind of laid that defender out with the blindside block, and had a lot of big plays to his name as well throughout his career at Nebraska. So fan favorite there, rightfully so. Really cool guy to talk to. Was doing big things in his post-football career after having a cup of coffee in professional football, which he gets into here in the discussion. And now is a big-time gamer, big-time Twitch streamer, and all around just a good guy and fun guy to talk to. So Kenny chats with me for about 40 minutes or so, and that is the entire episode this week. It's a one-part episode, and we'll get right into it now. It's Nebraska wide receiver Kenny Bell, and that discussion starts right now. Very pleased to be joined by Kenny Bell. He's a former Nebraska star at wide receiver, special teams from 2010 to 2014. Was a very popular player, and I'm sure is still a very popular dude in Lincoln to this day. Kenny, how's it going, man?
Alex, with the special team shout out, I appreciate that.
You got to show the special teamers love, man.
Man, a lot of people don't recognize that, so I appreciate that. That's love.
Absolutely, and people outside Nebraska like myself, who didn't go there or weren't Nebraska fans, probably remember you for the big plays, the big hit against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. But if they still can't place you by the name, it was always, for me, it was the hair about you. That's what stood out. So I got to ask, 4 or 5 years later, you still got that hair?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm known for. And yeah, I definitely still have the afro alive and well.
I was going to say, because, your Twitter handle is AfroThunder80 or Afro_Thunder80. You've been big into Twitch lately as well. That's your gamer tag there as well. So using that as kind of a launching pad, I want you to get into your past since leaving Nebraska, because since you were a star receiver there, you've kind of become a gamer star, a gamer and as a retired football player. So take me through what happened in between.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, obviously I've had the fro forever, and that's kind of what has been my moniker, if you will, or what kind of staple. So I spent some time building a fantastic network and platform in Nebraska, because there's some of the best fans in college football. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So went to play for the league a couple years. It didn't really work out. I couldn't stay healthy, man. I was playing well. I was on P squads. They liked me, but I just couldn't stay at the right times, and that's killer in the NFL when you get hurt during training camp. So spent my time there. Actually spent some time in the Alliance of American Football League, which was a lot of fun. I played out there with some former teammates and enjoyed that. And then in the recent months after that went under, I had always been interested to getting on Twitch and leveraging my platform and my network and building a phenomenal community on that platform, just because the community part of Twitch has always been phenomenal, and the charity and fundraising they do, and just the altruistic, positive kind of culture that they've built within Twitch is something that I've always been interested in and using that platform. So that's what I'm diving into now. So I've always enjoyed playing video games, but more importantly, I've always enjoyed interacting with people in my community. So that's what I'm really selling with my Twitch is I enjoy people coming in, interacting with me, playing video games with me, and that's more the path I'm on right now.
For sure, yeah. And I'm not a huge gamer myself, but I understand kind of the basis of Twitch, and like you said, it gets a gaming community involved. You can kind of stream yourself playing video games and play against others. So what games are you playing on there? Kind of describe it as if somebody has never heard of Twitch before.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm what they call as a variety streamer, and if you've never been involved with Twitch before, Twitch is an online television network, if you will, where you go to the website, you can tune into a certain content provider's channel, if you will. So if I'm a content provider, I'm a streamer. If you go to my channel, you'll be able to watch when I'm live. It'll be a live camera feed of me. My camera faces at me, and I play video games. And then you can also interact with me via messages. So I see your messages live as they come in while I play video games. So it's a live chat. It's interactive, and that's how I treat it. But back to what I stream is I stream whatever my community wants me to stream. So I have well over 200 video games in my library. So I stream with my community constantly. So a lot of guys will make their community by streaming a certain game and getting very good at that. I build my community by playing multiple games with numerous people. That's kind of what I've enjoyed, just the more social aspect of it. I do get pretty competitive, but I try and keep it pretty light and fun for the community.
Yeah, have you always been big into video games? Because for me, I was really into it at a younger age, and I even through college, I played a little bit, but I just wasn't good enough to like really have fun playing because I'd always get beat, like at 2K or Modern Warfare or whatever it was. So were you just kind of better than most people at video games growing up, or you just kind of got better as you gone along?
I've just gotten better progressively as I've gotten older. Just as you get older, you kind of just games are similar, and you kind of just get the knack for them. I wouldn't say like I'm a top tier gamer. I would never claim something like that. I think I'm a little bit above average. I just enjoy my channel's a little bit unique given my background with professional football and the player I was at Nebraska, and then I'm more than willing and very happy to interact with community and other gamers and just have fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned being involved with charitable causes and how that can kind of interact and interweave with Twitch, and I know you've also been very involved with the Team Jack Foundation, which is familiar to every Nebraska fan listening. So can you kind of discuss why and how you've been able to serve the community and how you've been able to kind of weave your activities and hobbies in with those efforts?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are familiar with Team Jack, they know that, and those aren't there, or those who aren't, it's a pediatric brain cancer foundation dedicated to new and improved research for pediatric brain cancer patients, just because it's less than 3% of cancer funds in America go to pediatric brain cancer. So over the past, I think it's 2013, so 6 years, almost $8 million has been raised by the foundation, and we have seen direct medicines and treatments because of that. So I take an incredible amount of pride being a part of that foundation. I'm the chairman of the alumni section of that, so I'm in charge of raising money and awareness through our alumni status and platform for pediatric brain cancer. So Twitch has always been a phenomenal platform for charitable causes such as this. So I kind of just took it upon myself to bring a new platform for Team Jack, and I put together a charity stream with myself, Jeremiah Searles, and Tommy Armstrong, as well as talking to the executives at Team Jack and kind of just explaining them what Twitch was and how the charity stream would work. And I did a 24-hour charity stream just last week or 2 weeks ago with those two guys, and we raised over $5,700 for the foundation in just our first stream. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about the money we raised, but not only that, I'm excited to bring them a new platform to do it again in the coming months. Yeah,
it's awesome stuff. So if fans listening want to be involved and they do happen to be gamers, they can follow you on Twitch, and you'll be doing that again, I assume, at some point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our next one we'll probably do just before the Team Jack Gala, which will be in February, and see if we can raise some more money prior to that gala where we have that big event in Lincoln for the foundation, which is always quite an evening.
Awesome. Really good stuff. So I'm going to switch gears to your football career now. A little less important in the grand scheme of things, but definitely relevant to you. And I want to start actually from the end of it. You kind of mentioned your cup of coffee in the NFL and your experience in the Alliance League. Let's just start in the NFL. I know you mentioned how injuries really hampered you. You bounced around practice squads. What cities were you in, and what was your overall experience like despite kind of having those injuries? What did you learn?
Yeah, I got drafted by Tampa Bay in 2015. I spent my first year and a half there because I got IR'd for like a minor hamstring injury. They kind of put me on IR to redshirt me, if you will. I got the old NFL redshirt year. So I was in the building every day, going to meetings, drawing up pregame reviews and stuff for our wideouts and quarterbacks. I loved my time in Tampa because Jameis Winston became one of my closest friends. I got Mike Evans. I still keep in touch with those guys. So I love the guys down in Tampa. My head coach got fired after my rookie year. Then I just didn't have a chance to make that team really.
Is that Lovey?
Coming back. Yeah, Lovey.
Yeah.
So Lovey ended up at Illinois. And
right.
I love Lovey. Every time I'm up there in town, I come to the Illinois game because, I got a lot of love for Lovey. After that, Tampa fired me, and I got picked up on Baltimore's P squad for pretty much the entire 2016 season, and they liked me a lot. They had me sign my futures contract there. 2017, I came back poised to make the Ravens roster, and I tore my hamstring. After that, they asked me to stay in Baltimore because they were going to sign me back once I was healthy. 8 weeks later, when I was healthy again, they signed me back and kept me on their P squad to the end of the year. They asked me to sign my futures contract in Baltimore, but I was upset with them because they hadn't activated me, to give me a shot to play. So I went and signed my futures contract with Denver. I came home to Denver in 2018. I yanked that same scar tissue hamstring in training camp, and that kind of spelled the end of my days in the NFL, and I knew that. It was year 3, and I had chronic hamstring issues, so I turned my eyes to the AAF just to kind of have some fun playing football again. The stresses of the NFL just kind of got to me. I was down. I wanted to enjoy playing football again, so I went and played in that Alliance League, and that's exactly what I did. I enjoyed playing football again. Got my last little bit of football in, and now I'm looking for new horizons.
So what was the organizational structure like in the AAF compared to the NFL? It sounds like it was a more stress-free experience from a playing perspective. So yeah, but just being a new league and everything, what was different? What was similar? Just walk me through that.
There weren't much similarities, just because they tried to do the same kind of practice scheduling and that stuff, but just you can't ever match the competitive edge of the NFL just because it's the best in the world, and you have to, if you're not great every single day, you're going to get fired, and that it's hard to replicate that environment, So that it was much different in that regard, and it was just younger. It was younger guys. It was all guys for the most part. I'd say 70, probably 80% of the league was guys that were for 1 or 2 years out of college that had just gotten cut from their first NFL roster. So, there weren't very many veteran guys, so that changes the entire culture as well. So, but it made it more fun.
Yeah, so what?
It made it way more enjoyable, I'd say.
So where were you? What city? And then how did the kind of shutdown affect you personally? And did you see it coming at all?
I was in Salt Lake City. I was playing for the Stallions. Yeah, no, I didn't see that. There had been rumors of it, but they had addressed that and be like, no, they're just rumors. Don't worry about it. There's kind of writings on the wall about it, like hindsight's 2020, right? I could definitely say, oh yeah, I could see it now. But at the time, no, I had no idea. Now, thankful for me, I wasn't there expecting, that to be my ticket back to the NFL, or I wasn't, I was going down there to play some football, have some fun, and then hang them up and move on. So when it went under, I had saved my money from that little league, and then I was, I had turned to Twitch and a new platform. So for me personally, it wasn't a real brutal transition or anything like that. I was really thankful for my time and the people I got to spend it with there, and I was ready to move on.
Yeah, some of the horror stories that came out of the league shutting down, guys getting screwed out of money, and it made it seem I think more unorganized than the league actually looked in its inception, because watching on TV it seemed legit, and obviously there's real talent on those rosters. So did you hear any of those stories?
Yeah, there was good players, and honestly there was great people that were genuinely trying to do a good job. That I'm not complaining about coaches, staff. I love my Stallion staff. My GM was great. My head coach was fantastic. So I've got absolutely no complaints about that. It was tough, they didn't have any money. When it shut down, they were like, you guys can stay here, but you have to pay for your own room, or you have to get a hotel tomorrow, or, drive out, but I wasn't going to hold that against my general manager I didn't think he was I didn't think there was any malintent behind at the executive level. I think.
Right. Everyone was kind of. Yeah, exactly. Everyone was trying to do the best they could.
Yeah, the coaches and the GMs and the players were genuinely trying to put on, a good show and do their job. And I think at the highest level, the money got mixed up, and that wasn't something that I could be real too upset about.
Right.
So I definitely wasn't expecting a lawsuit or, it was just over that in my mind,
Absolutely, yeah. And with that all being said, the XFL is starting up. It sounds like you got your last fill of football and are moving on, but is that something you would ever look towards going forward here?
No, I was contacted by the XFL, by their commissioners and a few of their GMs during that draft period, and I was just like, hey, guys, I got on the phone with everybody that called and expressed my gratitude, because I really am thankful for anybody that would consider me to come play, but, it's just my playing days are over.
I got you. And I want to circle back real quick to Lovie Smith real quick, because I didn't realize that you played while he coached there.
Lovie.
I know. Well, I'm an Illinois grad, so I've kind of been locked into the whole Lovie stuff. Yeah, I was at school there when he got hired, and okay. I've been at BTN in the last few years since, and this year it all kind of paid off. To a degree that they made a bowl game, and things are looking up there. So are you?
Big win over Wisconsin too.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you are you surprised at all with that job, or do you think it's going to continue in the right direction there?
I believe in Lovie. I believe in his mantra. I believe in the message he teaches his young man. I believe in the coaching, his experience, and I believe in him. Like I just said, I think he's going to have it in the right direction. But not to be disrespectful, I think it's the same thing that my school is going through. It's going to be tough to recruit in this day and age to Champaign. It's going to be tough to recruit to Lincoln. So I want nothing but the best for him, and I 100% believe in him. But there's a lot that goes into college football that I think their expectations can be very brutal sometimes.
For sure, and a big part of it, obviously, is facilities. And Illinois can't really be beat out by anybody at this point now that they have a new facility. It took a couple of years into Lovie's tenure to get that up and running, but kind of all the pieces are there at this point. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for him. I'm happy for him, and trust me, I'm tuning in to watch the Illini.
Sounds good. Real quick before we talk about your time in Nebraska and what's going on there right now with Scott Frost, just want to check in. You said you're in Denver area right now, right?
Yeah, well, I'm actually right now I'm in LA.
Okay.
I'm here for the gaming awards. I'm being presented as a new influencer for Western Digital Media.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they're a sponsor for the gaming awards. So yeah. That's
pretty cool. But you're like based out of Denver now, living there.
Yes, sir.
Denver's awesome, man. Like I went there for the first time this past summer. You grew up there, and it looks like a fun place to grow up, and just a fun place to spend your late 20s.
Oh yeah. So I grew up in Boulder, so it was a way different time in Boulder when I was growing up. But yeah, coming home to Denver now with how much it's developed over the past 10 years, yeah, it doesn't get better for anybody from like 24 to 32 as far as a city.
Absolutely, and you mentioned growing up in Boulder. It's interesting now because the last couple of years, Nebraska's kind of gone back playing Colorado like the old days, and just growing up there as a star, it looks like in every sport. I mean, here you're listed, you were a track star, hoop star, football star, obviously. First off, what's it like to just kind of be awesome at everything in high school and kind of dominate?
I appreciate you saying that, but I honestly wasn't even the best athlete at my high school. So I appreciate you saying that. I did. They showed me some love with my awards and stuff, but lucky for me, I grew up with some phenomenal athletes as well.
So what was the pull to Nebraska then, being from Boulder, when you got a Pac-12 school right in your backyard?
At the time
they were Big 12 then, right?
They were, yeah. At the time, both Nebraska and CU were Big 12
yep.
schools. And Coach Frost was actually recruiting me to go to Oregon in the Pac-10, and it really I wanted somewhere that was close to home. I needed a coaching staff that could take me somewhere I couldn't take myself, and Bo Pelini and that staff definitely did that. And then I needed a place that I had never seen anywhere like Nebraska, where football was just everything. I was from Boulder, Colorado. People don't really love football like that. So when I went to Nebraska and I saw them play Kansas State at a night game in 2009, and it was just incredible. I was there with actually my recruiting trip was with Levante David. So it was quite the experience, and it was pretty much it from there. I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of Nebraska guys, and had a bunch on this podcast and just talked to them outside of it, and like that's kind of that story always kind of repeats itself, where they went on that first visit and kind of blown away. So
yeah.
Definitely understand that. Obviously, like you mentioned, the conference realignment kind of hit as you were a student athlete at Nebraska, with Colorado hopping over to the Pac-12, Nebraska making the move to the Big Ten. Is that something that you were told about or even cared about as a high schooler and as a freshman at Nebraska, or is that something that's kind of out of your control and out of your mind?
Yeah, that was way out of my control, and I was devastated because we had just finished our season. We had played Colorado at home, and I got redshirted. So I was really excited. My redshirt freshman year, I was going to get to go play in Boulder. And so in my mind, I was really excited. And then the announcement came down. I can remember like it was yesterday when Coach Osborne came and told us that we were making the move to the Big Ten. I was real sad. Hindsight, it's a much better conference, I think, for Nebraska, especially with Texas, what they were doing with the long haul network. So I was very happy with the move, but I did miss not getting to play in Boulder.
Right. So you were in the Big Ten for all of your playing years, right? 2011 on.
Yeah, because 2011 was our inaugural season. We played our inaugural game. We played Russell Wilson at Camp Randall for College Game Day.
Yeah, welcome to the Big Ten.
Who are you telling? My God.
So, that might not be a top memory that sticks out to you, at least on the positive side of things. But what are some memories that stick out, when you look back and reflect? Like 4 years in Nebraska, I'm sure there's a ton of things, but when you look back at those moments and kind of the connections to the community you mentioned, what stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, if I were going to pick one moment in my Husker career that is my absolute favorite, it'd be the Team Jack the spring ball run when Jack Hoffman had that touchdown run. And that kind of really had launched we had all known Jack. He had been at practice and hung out with us prior, but that really launched where we are now with the foundation. Because, I mean, that turned into Jack winning an ESPY that following year or that following season, and just where we've grown together as a community with the foundation. That would be the moment I definitely pick as a Husker as my favorite.
Yeah, that stuff never gets old. We still show it all the time on Big Ten Network, and I think it really inspired a lot of schools to do similar things with their super fans that might have fallen on hard times. Like it's kind of a spring game staple now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of I don't want to say we were just absolutely the first. I don't remember if anyone had done it prior, because I'm sure people had done similar things, but that was the first one in my memory where it really became significant, and I was lucky enough to be a part of going to the ESPYs with Jack, and then being named the alumni chapter or the alumni chapter chairman for the foundation. So I've been incredibly thankful and building that community and those relationships in and around Nebraska.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one thing I think I definitely try not to take for granted with all the charitable work that the schools do and the attention they bring. I mean, Nebraska obviously is one of the leaders in that regard. I think Wisconsin has done a great job just, across the board. They have a big charitable arm there. Iowa, with their wave to the children in the hospital has been amazing.
The wave is great.
Yeah, and then the Tyler Trent circumstances last year at Purdue, Unfortunately, he's not with us any longer, but the attention they brought, So, I mean, it's something we shouldn't take for granted for sure. I think the Big Ten kind of leads in, giving these, especially kids, kind of the attention that they deserve. So,
well, I think the Big Ten has across the board. I mean, it's not just particular to any one school. I think we have very unique fan bases in general. So it's always I take a lot of pride in playing in Nebraska, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that Nebraska is a part of the Big Ten network.
Absolutely,
Big Ten Conference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I brought this up earlier, shifting gears a little more, but I brought it up earlier. Your maybe most iconic highlight outside of Nebraska is the blindside block in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, where you just absolutely lower the boom on an unsuspecting Wisconsin Badger. It was clean. It wasn't penalized. It was a clean hit in the game. I watched it before I hopped on the phone with you, and it still gives me like the shudders every time I watch it. It was a great hit, but it's one that's kind of been legislated out of the game. So how do you feel about that rule being implemented, and have you kind of been attributed the original kind of OG reasoning for that rule coming about?
Yeah, it's tough. Well, it was tough because we did get penalized. They called it back then. They didn't have the blindside block or anything like that.
Right.
So they called me for unnecessary roughness.
Oh, they did? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, they called that touchdown back, and they called it unnecessary roughness. And you'll see me in some of the videos. I waved the ref over, and I asked him what I did, and he told me I hit him too hard. That was the only explanation I got. He said, "You hit him too hard. You can't hit him like that." And I put my arms up and I would say, we're playing football, because at that time we didn't have a rule about no crackbacks.
Right,
like
and
that.
Football was not like it is now, where the hits were not being legislated out quite like they are now.
Yeah, so I hit him with my shoulder. I didn't hit him with the crown of my helmet or anything like that. I just caught him clean off balance in his chest. But yeah, the very following year that's when we had the crackback block. So it was in 2013 that in college football they announced that. Crackback block, and I don't want to say it was directly because of me and that hit, but I think it did. I think it did make them notice a little bit more.
Yeah, just in general, I always am interested to hear what football players think about the shift of the game. Obviously it's great. I think everyone can agree it's great that it is safer. But for example, I think something like the targeting rule, and then now how the blindside block rule has been applied in the NFL, tends to go too far, and it kind of goes into the waters of removing some of the soul of the game. Like, I've seen blocks and hits that are completely clean and legal that get called, and the rules applied totally inconsistently. So how do you feel?
I think, one, I think it's important. Most importantly, I think it's important that we want to keep guys safe. But it's a fine line, right? Because I played the game and I know exactly what I signed up for. I didn't expect to not get blasted if I was going across the middle. That kind of just came with the territory. But more importantly, there's ways to play the game safe, but we're putting the game in the referee's hands, and it's just not gonna go well. I don't think anyone's gonna enjoy that. So I see why there's such a influx in complaining about refereeing. It's because the game is being put on the referees because of these penalties. So it's really tough. We want to be safe, but at the same time, the athletes definitely know what they're signing up for, and the athletes know how to play the game the right way too. So it's all there's no right or wrong answer. It's a ton of gray area, but I would like to see some of these rules roll back a touch, or just because the refereeing is brutal right now. And it's not to say that I'm not coming at the referees or anything. I just think the game is put too much in their hands.
Exactly. Yeah, football's such a tough game to call. There's so many rules, and like you said, I think they're being asked to do too much with something like the targeting rule. In my opinion, goes a little too far with the actual penalty that is enforced, because a ejection for one hit where a guy might have lowered his head, I've always kind of believed is too harsh and is applied inconsistently. And I think maybe if it's it changes the game. It could, and it changes a guy's career potentially if they have to sit out the first half of the next game or what have you. So, I think kind of like how basketball has implemented this flopping rule this year, where the first time you get a warning, maybe if it's first time, 15-yard penalty, second time, then you're ejected. I think that would be a little more fair.
Yeah, I've seen some flops, but there's a kid from Iowa. Like, I've seen flops in Iowa. Like, there was a kid, I think Johnny Adams from Michigan State. I was blocking him, and he like jumped over and like tried to flop. But there was a kid from Iowa that straight up grabbed his helmet and like his head and like rolled on the ground, like he got hit in the head, and that was the first I'd seen in football.
And then he was fine after that.
Yeah, that was the first. Like it was towards the end of our game against Iowa, but I had never seen like someone pretend like their head was really injured before. And I was like, if that's the road we're going down, then we have serious problems. And that's a player issue. That,
right?
They know you can get calls like that. That's going to be a problem. So we'll have to watch for that, but we'll see.
Right, it's a fine line, but at the end of the day, I still love football. Still going to watch, and like you said, we'll see.
We're going to watch football, right? Like the people that are like, the game is ruined, I can't watch it anymore. It's like, all right, well, I'm sorry you're that upset about it. It shouldn't be that serious. It's the quality, the content of the game is still quality. So
100% agree. I want to talk a little bit more into the weeds about Nebraska football, and we'll start with, since we're 2 coaches removed now from the guy who recruited you, I think we can kind of reflect on this topic with clear eyes. What did you think at the time about the decision to move on from Bo Pelini, and how did you handle it personally?
I handled Bo getting fired pretty rough, just because I thought it was done very ill intent. There was a lot going on between our third and second floor that just didn't feel right between our football and our executive offices, and it just didn't feel like a family. It felt much more us versus them. The second Eichhorst came in it felt like they brought him in to fire Bo, and that kind of how it transpired. Not only that, we beat Iowa, which we thought was a huge win at Iowa to move us to, I think, 9-3 again. And then they fired Bo the next morning and didn't. We woke up to an email Saturday morning. They fired him, and it was like 6:45 in the morning, saying that we had a meeting in like an hour and Bo was gone. And I never saw Bo again. So it was tough for me. I didn't appreciate that, because I loved my head man, and I knew how much he cared about us. I knew how much he cared about my teammates. So that was tough. Hindsight, right? As I've gotten older, Bo probably wasn't the best fit for Nebraska during that time. I'm not naive to say that he was all knowing and all righteous. He definitely didn't help himself out with certain situations, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. But I just wish I do wish that would have transpired differently. That's for sure.
Right, and I can't pretend to know the politics of the Nebraska fan base and everything that goes into hiring and firing a head coach. But I've always been somebody who's observed a lot of hirings and firings in the last decade or so at my alma mater, Illinois, that believes that just because the next guy doesn't work out. Mike Riley would be the guy who doesn't work out. That doesn't mean the decision to move on necessarily was wrong. I don't think Nebraska fans are, some people insinuate that Nebraska fans are, unrealistic or spoiled for feeling like they plateaued under Bo. I don't think that's wrong to want to improve. If they reach the heights that many believe they will under Scott Frost, it'll all have kind of worked out in the long run. So what do you think the move to Scott Frost how do you think this will bear out in the long run? What have you seen so far? And just what's your observation as an alum and former player?
Well, let me answer that in 2 parts, right? So the first part being the plateauing over Bo, and maybe moving on from a certain coaches and to a coach that doesn't do as well, that doesn't make that decision, necessarily a poor one. So I know what you're trying to say there. I would caution a lot of fans just because, look at a perfect example is Michigan, right? Michigan is on the cusp of being they're probably a top 15 team every single year, but Michigan fans want to be in that Final Four. They want to compete for national championships. That kind of elite football that year in and year out is, for some universities, is just not a realistic not realistic. I don't want to say goal, because you want to compete for championships. Everyone should, but the world we live in just doesn't work like that. There's definitely going to be good teams every single year that pop up, and but the powerhouses are going to be the powerhouses. That's where the money, that's where the recruits, that's where the coaching is at. So I think it's tough for fans. I'm not saying to just think you're going to be terrible every year, but I think to have reasonable expectations is something that we all need to strive for a little bit.
I agree. It's a fine line for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a very fine line between like contentment and reality, I guess. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. And like you said, it's a balancing act. You never know. It's tough to tell when those expectations teeter into becoming unrealistic.
Exactly.
But again, I also understand the sentiment of not getting complacent as well.
Right. I mean, like look at Alabama, right? Like, Alabama is a phenomenal football school, and there's people that want Nick Saban fired right now. So what is what is the expectation?
It's crazy how that perspective can change too with just a little success.
It is. Isn't it funny how fast it can change? So I think it's just the world we live in with sport, But to answer the second part of the question with Coach Frost, I love Coach Frost. I believe, just like I believe in Lovey and his staff, I love Coach Frost, and I genuinely believe that Nebraska and Mr. Moose, and they have the right guys in the right positions. It's just going to take time. 2 years into rebuilding is not, especially in a conference like the Big Ten. It's going to take time, and he's coming from different conferences where Big Ten football is tough. The stuff in Oregon and UCF might not work quite the same in the Big Ten when you got Iowa, Wisconsin, and those teams, Ohio State, running the football at your neck. So it's it's going to be some time. There's going to be adjustments. There's going to be a learning curve with him and his staff and with his players. But I genuinely do believe that they have the right guys in place.
All right, last question, Kenny. As a former Nebraska football player, I feel like Nebraska is kind of unique in the sense that they're I don't know how to put this, but like their ring of honor, like once you've graduated, still remains close, right? Like they keep their alums close. You guys can always go back and feel at home, and I feel like all the alums for the most part stay really connected to the program. So how are you, kind of consuming the program from afar? Are you watching every game? How are you staying connected outside of the Team Jack stuff that you already mentioned?
Well, yeah, the alumni are always very close, especially the guys that I've played with from like 08 to 16. I mean, we're a tight-knit group. We see each other every time we're back. We're constantly talking. I mean, I got a group of 8 guys that I played with in school that we talk every single day. Myself, Quincy Anunwa, Amir Abdullah, Toby Okiemi, Josh Mitchell, Nate Gary, Will Compton, and Tariq Allen. We have a group chat that we talk literally every single day. So we've remained very, very close. We always talk about the games. We're always watching it. But we remain optimistic. We're not going to get on. For the most part, most of the alumni guys, most of the guys that I'm closest with, we're not going to get on and talk about how the sky is falling on the program or anything like that. We're going to remain positive because I think that matters. The alumni, what we say and how we act, it holds some weight with the Nebraska fans. So I try not to pop off at the mouth too much about anything too personal. I'm here to support those guys, the coaches and staff, and the kids. So I want to see, what I care about is seeing them have success, not necessarily being on Twitter criticizing what's going on,
Absolutely. And I think the point stands that program and those fans will support you, and it kind of shows in your charitable work, and they'll follow you, whether it be on Twitch or on Twitter or anything you do in your post-career pursuits. So best of luck in all that. I appreciate you coming on, giving me nearly 40 good minutes here of conversation. And once again, we'll follow you and continue to follow you in your post-football career.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you guys having me. It really means a lot. And I've always been a fan of the Big Ten Network. I think you guys are great. So, again, I appreciate you having me.
For sure. All right, thanks once again to Kenny for joining me. Really appreciate his time. A lot of fun chatting with him. Really good dude, like I alluded to at the top of the show. fun to talk to. Probably could have gone for another 40 minutes or so if we had the time. But it's fun catching up with him and hearing about not only his post-football life and his time in Nebraska, but also about his charitable causes and efforts that he's put in the Team Jack Foundation, and how he's kind of interwoven that with his personal life and his interests on Twitch. So really good stuff. Always love talking to guys from Nebraska. That program has turned out a lot of not only good football players, but good human beings as well. Kenny Bell definitely falls into both of those categories, and appreciate his time. Like I said at the top, we do not have a chat with our researcher Harold Shelton. Usually during basketball and football season, we have him on to talk in depth Big Ten football and basketball. But it's his birthday today, actually, so happy birthday, Harold. And he's taking a much-deserved break. I don't think he has the day off necessarily, but well-deserved break. And, he kind of has been talking about getting to this time in the calendar when he gets past the Big Ten Football Championship and gets to take a breath a little bit. That is very well-deserved from one of the hardest working dudes at BTN. So we'll get back with Harold soon. Happy birthday to him once again. We'll get back with the audience soon, likely next week, a pre-Christmas, pre-holiday version of the Take 10 podcast as we come up on 2020 here. And until then, just want to give a shout out, obviously, to everyone for listening, to my producers, Wes White and Julie Bronder, for producing the show as always. And one final reminder, if you've not done so already, to please subscribe to the Take 10 podcast on podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Podbean. And we're also on YouTube in the Big Ten Network YouTube channels playlist as well. So check us out on all those platforms. Like or leave a review or a rating if you like the show. If you don't, keep it to yourself, and we'll keep it moving. All right. Once again, appreciate everyone, and we'll talk to you soon here on Take 10 Podcast.